Hey, Mike, it's been a while since we last talked. How have you been?
Hey, Alice. Yeah, it's been too long. I've been doing well, just keeping busy with work and some personal projects. How about you? What's new in your world?
Same here, really. Work has been kind of crazy, and I've been trying to balance that with everything else. But I did manage to pick up a new hobby recently.
Oh, really? What kind of hobby? You always have something interesting going on.
Well, I've started learning how to play the piano. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I finally decided to go for it. It's been challenging, but super rewarding.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were interested in music like that. How long have you been playing now?
Just a couple of months. I'm still a total beginner, but I've been practicing regularly and I'm starting to get the hang of it. I can play a few simple songs now.
That's impressive. I've always thought about learning an instrument, but I never seem to have the time or patience for it. Do you take lessons, or are you teaching yourself?
A bit of both, actually. I started with some online tutorials and then signed up for lessons with a local teacher. The combination has been really helpful. The teacher helps me with technique, and the online stuff lets me practice at my own pace.
That sounds like a great setup. What kind of music are you learning? Are you into classical, or do you have something else in mind?
A little bit of everything, but mostly classical for now. I feel like it's a good foundation to have, and once I'm more comfortable, I'll branch out into other genres. I'd love to play some jazz eventually.
Jazz? Now that's cool. It seems like it would be a lot of fun to play once you get the basics down. Do you have a favorite jazz artist?
I'm really into Miles Davis and John Coltrane. Their music is just so timeless and soulful. What about you? Do you listen to much jazz?
Not as much as I'd like to, but I've always appreciated it. I'm more of a rock and alternative guy, but I can definitely see the appeal of jazz. It's so expressive and free flowing.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It feels like the musicians are really in the moment, just expressing themselves through the music. It's inspiring.
Speaking of inspiration, have you been working on any new art projects lately? I remember you used to love painting.
I haven't done as much painting recently, but I've been sketching a lot. It's easier to fit into my schedule because I can just grab my sketchbook and start drawing whenever I have a free moment.
That makes sense. What kind of stuff are you sketching? Are you into landscapes, portraits, or something else?
A bit of everything, really. I've been doing some portrait work, trying to improve my ability to capture facial expressions. But I also love sketching nature scenes, trees, mountains, that sort of thing. It's relaxing.
That's great. I always admired your dedication to your creative projects. You seem to have a knack for balancing work and hobbies. I struggle with that sometimes.
It's not always easy, trust me. I have days where I feel completely burned out, but I try to set aside time for myself, even if it's just 30 minutes to unwind and do something creative. It really helps me recharge.
I should take a page out of your book. Lately, I've been so caught up in work that I barely have time for anything else. It feels like the days just fly by.
I know the feeling. What's been keeping you so busy at work? Any big projects?
Yeah, we're working on a new software release, and it's been taking up a lot of my time. It's exciting, but also pretty stressful. We've had a lot of deadlines to meet.
That sounds intense. Are you enjoying the project at least?
For the most part, yeah. I like the challenge, and it's rewarding to see everything come together, but it's also a lot of late nights and troubleshooting bugs.
I can imagine. Debugging can be so frustrating. Do you ever find yourself thinking about work even when you're off the clock?
All the time. It's hard to turn it off, especially when there are still unresolved issues. I'm constantly thinking about how to fix this or improve that. It's hard to relax when your mind is still in work mode.
Yeah, I get that. It's so important to have that balance, though. Have you found any good ways to unwind after a long day?
Well, I've been trying to get back into reading. I used to read a lot more, but I kind of fell out of the habit. Now, I'm making an effort to read at least a few chapters before bed.
That's great. What are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading this science fiction novel called Dune. Have you heard of it?
Of course, Dune is a classic. I love the world building in that book. It's so rich and detailed. How are you liking it so far?
I'm really enjoying it. It's a bit dense at times, but the story is fascinating. The whole idea of the desert planet and the politics surrounding it is really gripping.
It is, and the characters are so well developed. Do you think you'll read the rest of the series?
I'm not sure yet. I've heard the sequels are good, but also that they get even more complex. I'll see how I feel after I finish this one.
Fair enough. It's definitely a commitment. I've been reading more nonfiction lately, books about psychology and self improvement. It's been interesting to learn about how our minds work.
That sounds really interesting. I've always been curious about psychology. Any book recommendations?
I just finished Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's all about how small changes in your daily habits can lead to big improvements over time. It really made me think about how I structure my day and the habits I've developed.
I've heard great things about that book. I've been meaning to pick it up. It seems like a practical guide for making positive changes in your life.
It definitely is. The advice is really actionable, and the author explains the science behind why certain habits stick and others don't. It's helped me make a few adjustments to my routine.
That's awesome. I'm always looking for ways to improve my productivity. Maybe I'll check it out next. Do you have any other self improvement tips?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is consistency. Whatever you're trying to improve, whether it's your health, your skills, or your mindset, you've got to stick with it, even when it's tough. That's where the real growth happens.
That's so true. I've noticed that with my workouts, it's easy to get motivated in the beginning, but staying consistent over time is the real challenge.
Exactly. And it's okay to have off days, but the key is to get back on track as soon as you can. Don't let one bad day turn into a bad week or month.
That's good advice. I'll have to keep that in mind. So, aside from piano and sketching, have you been up to anything else lately? Any new travel plans?
I wish. I've been dying to travel, but with everything going on, I haven't had the chance. Hopefully, I can plan something for next year. What about you? Have you been anywhere interesting recently?
Not recently, but I've been thinking about taking a trip soon. I'd love to visit Japan. It's been on my travel list for years.
Japan would be amazing. The culture, the food, the history, it's such a fascinating place. Do you have any specific cities in mind?
Definitely Tokyo and Kyoto. Tokyo for the modern, fast paced city life, and Kyoto for the traditional temples and gardens. I think it would be the perfect mix.
That sounds like a great plan. I've heard the cherry blossoms in Kyoto are breathtaking. Would you go during cherry blossom season?
I'd love to. It seems like the perfect time to visit, though I imagine it gets pretty crowded. Still, I think it would be worth it.
For sure. Well, if you end up going, I'll need all the details and recommendations. I've always wanted to visit Japan too.
You got it. I'll keep you posted. Maybe one day we'll both make it over there.
Definitely. We'll have to compare travel notes when that happens.